Espacio Crypto and Startnet, we are partnering to create a startup house in Monterrey, Mexico.
But tell me, man, tell me about this. Tell me more about kind of the mission and the goals. Why Starknet? What do you uniquely see Starknet brings to the table?
Mexico and the US have the largest remittance corridor in the world. This is a remittance corridor of more than $64 billion each year. Binance now has a new country manager in Argentina. How could you not know? Maybe the most important player for stablecoins, for retail stablecoins in the next 2-3 years. It's really hard to wrap my head around that. Welcome everybody to another episode of Frontera, the podcast where we tell you what's happening in crypto in Latin America. As you know, LATAM is one of the regions of the world that needs crypto the most, and that's why Kush and I started Frontera. I'm Ab, the co-founder and CEO of Bando and Espacio Crypto. Kush, co-founder of Odisea. Dude, how are you and where are you? You look really tropical.
I am in Roatán, Honduras. So yes, now last time we recorded was in Stanford. Now here, heading off today to a different location. So yeah, man, lots of hopping.
Where are you heading to afterwards?
I'm going to Bogotá, then I'm going to Monterrey, and then Buenos Aires.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of diversity in our backgrounds. I think that I won't travel for a couple of weeks, so that's really great news for me. And on today's Frontera, we're gonna discuss what's happening in Mexico. I'm really excited because there are weeks where nothing happens in Mexico in crypto, and this week a couple of things happen, and we're gonna analyze the market this huge market that is the largest Spanish-speaking market in the world, that it's Mexico. Also, we're going to talk about Binance in Argentina, some news there. Also, dude, you went viral, and we're going to talk about that. So yeah, let's start. Let's start with the first news in this week. That was that Espacio Crypto and Startnet, we are partnering to create a startup house in Monterrey, Mexico. And the objective of this initiative is to expand basically to expand the startup footprint in Mexico, specifically in Mexico, because as I said, it's the largest market in the Spanish-speaking world. And also, we still have a lag in adoption in crypto. The last reports say that between 10 and 15% of the population has interacted with crypto. In my personal experience, I think that it's far lower. And I think that that's because we need more competition in Mexico. Basically, we only have one big player, that is Bitso. There are a couple of institutional players like Rio, Kappa, Koiwe, Ridian, a lot of different startups doing stablecoins. But there's a big opportunity to expand the number of startups in Mexico in this huge market. So I'm going to drop a couple of facts on how big is the market in Mexico for crypto. But first, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this announcement that we dropped this week.
This is super exciting, man. I mean, we just recorded with Santi a few days ago, and the premise is startups are going to transform the way society works and functions, right? And they're much more effective ways of moving a society forward, whether it's across education, governance, healthcare, finance, etc., right? So really exciting to see more startups come online, really excited to see big foundations like Starknet support local developer ecosystems in Latin America. We need more of this. Super excited to be able to support you guys as well throughout this process. And let's accelerate, Papi. Let's do it. Super pumped. But tell me, man, tell me about this. Tell me more about kind of the mission and the goals, and what are you hoping to get out of this? How did this come about? And also, why Starknet? What do you uniquely see Starknet brings to the table?
Yeah, perfect. So a couple of things. Espacio Crypto is the best media company in crypto in Latin America. We are the most professional ones. We have our track record proves that, and because of that, we know that important partnerships take time. We've been talking with the Starknet team, since I think that 6 months ago, because we started to know each other. We started to understand what were the objectives of Starknet, how Espacio Crypto creates value, and we saw that there's a big opportunity to expand the startup ecosystem in Mexico specifically. And I think that we are the best ones to help deploy that. And Starknet also has a really interesting approach that every time that I chat with the team at Starknet, they have a long-term approach, and they are really vocal about not wanting to work with grant seekers. And how can we prove that we're not grant seekers? Because we've been around for 4 years, and our objective is having 1,000 episodes on the main feed. We are in the episode 375. So we already have a bunch of content, but we still have a long way to go. So we want to partner only with long-term partners. So that's why we choose to partner with StarkNet. And the main objective is, I think that Mexico is starting to bubble in a good way. It's starting to be a bubbly ecosystem in the sense that there's gonna, like, Solana Apex was a big step forward in Mexico. Also, I think that this will mark a huge milestone in Mexico's progress. Also, the Mantle team is doing a bunch of activities here in Mexico. And I'd love to give you some data on the market size for crypto in Mexico. Also, if you're listening to this, go and subscribe to our newsletter, because the thing that I'm just gonna put in screen is the draft of the document that you just received. Basically, here in the newsletter, you're gonna have all of this information and more. So let me share with you, my friend Kush, a couple of a couple of facts of what's happening in Mexico. The first thing is that Mexico and the US have the largest remittance corridor in the world. This is a remittance corridor of more than $64 billion each year. And the take rate, the fees are around 6% in average. And this is BBVA data, what the most important bank in Mexico. We reference the report in our newsletter, and you can see how remittances have increased 50% in basically since 2020 to 2024. So this is a market that keeps growing. Last year it grew 2.3%, and also I think that these numbers are kind of mistaken because of the FX rate, or not mistaken, but they are weird to understand. In 2022, it grew 12%. In 2023, 7.6%, the remittance corridor. And it's a 6% take rate, and nobody knows where that money goes to. As the famous Jeff Bezos phrase of your share is my opportunity. This is the perfect example for specifically for Mexico and remittances. Also, this week there was a report published by Finovista that it's the most important financial chamber in Mexico. It's called the Finovista FinTech Radar Mexico. And this is the first time that stablecoins are mentioned in this report. Just to show you some numbers, 10% of fintechs in Mexico right now use stablecoins. So there's a big opportunity for the other 90% of the fintech companies in Mexico to start using stablecoins. So this is why we are focusing in Mexico right now. Also, it's estimated that between 10 and 15% of all remittances in Mexico are managed through stablecoins. So it's a huge opportunity for our region to expand crypto adoption. Some statistics say that between around 15 million people are interacting with crypto today. I think that those numbers are wrong. I think that it's a lot less because, I worked at Bitso. I saw the numbers of monthly active users and all of that. So I think that there's still a big opportunity for someone to come and attack the retail market. So yes, those are a couple of facts on Mexico. I'd love to hear your takes on. Basically, you've traveled all across Latin America, seeing how people use crypto. What are the main things that excite you what are the main problems that you see that crypto could solve in Mexico?
I mean, it's just remittances is the super obvious one, man. Largest remittance quarter. Business just happens better with stable coins. It happens better on crypto rails. Literally even on Bitcoin, it's easier to send a transaction on Bitcoin than it is to traditional fiat rails. So, certainly cross-border payments, whether that's remittances or B2B transactions, is super exciting. I think and we're seeing that sort of propagate across the rest of society, right? So we're going to see stablecoins, like every single damn business is going to run on stablecoins eventually. Like that's a fact, right? It just makes a lot more sense for them to do that. And it's because of the ease, the cost, and the speed, right, of stablecoins. And so we're just seeing this happen. The amount of businesses that are now looking to transact in stablecoins is really, really surprising, really impressive. And onwards and upwards, we'll see more of this happening at the Starknet Hacker House in Monterrey through all these different sort of like builders and supporting them, injecting more capital. And there's going to be a ton of economic opportunities to really capitalize on that. So I'm super stoked.
Yeah, and obviously Odyssey and Espacio Crypto are gonna work together a lot on executing this. I just want to give you a final number. In 2021, there were 512 fintech companies in Mexico. Today, there are 803. So basically, new companies are being born every day, or maybe not every day, but every month. New fintech companies are born in Mexico, and basically, this is such a fertile ground for someone to help these fintech companies to implement crypto, and that's what we're helping. That's what we're seeing. I think that there's no one attacking this niche of fintech companies implementing stablecoins the way that they can. So if someone can help them, I think that the adoption of the impact of crypto in Mexico is going to expand. And then again, this is
By the way, Santiago's whole thesis with Inversion Capital, right? Is he wants to do like
yeah,
a kind of the private equity play where he wants to acquire a bunch of businesses and then he wants to onboard them into stable coins and reduce a lot of their OPEX by basically saying, hey, use stable coins because it is drastically cheaper than using any other sort of payment rail. So, I've seen Santiago Roel Santos, who's previously on Espacio Crypto, talk about this as well quite recently. And, he's now launching a whole freaking chain to make that happen. So, there's like new chains that need to be built from this. There's lots of opportunity here. And yeah, man, I mean, we saw like one of the fastest acquisitions in human history occur through with the stable coins, right? When Stripe acquired Bridge for $1 billion, it's inevitable.
yeah, definitely, absolutely inevitable. And the final fact: Mexico is a 1.7 trillion dollars market in GDP. That those are numbers of 2023. So I think that we might be around 1.92 trillion. So it's the largest economy in Spanish-speaking LATAM again. And also something really important is that we're really close to the US. So the payments flow between Mexico and the US, it's 69 billion in retail, but it's estimated to be around 400 billion in B2B payments. So it's a gigantic market, obvious for crypto to take on it. And I'd love to move on to the next step, onto the next news this week. I want to bring this to Frontera, that Binance now has a new country manager in Argentina. That is Andrés Ondarra. He's the general manager for Cono Sur. It's the South Cone in Binance. And I'm excited for this news for a couple of reasons. The first one, I actually know Andres. We worked together at Bitso a couple of years back, and I think that he's a really sharp guy. He's an experienced person in TradFi, and I really love when people joins the industry and stays in the industry. Why do I say this? Because working with a lot of people in the past years in crypto, I don't know, some of them went to work at a crypto company and they came back to work at Unilever, Hellman's, or something like that. That I really do not understand that move, but people do it. And Andres stayed in crypto, and now he's the general manager for Binance. I think that this is really bullish news because this is the largest company or the largest exchange in crypto. Keep investing in Latin America.
Totally, yeah. So Andres' background is, he was at ING, Santander, BBVA, Citibank, Bank of America. Like he brings a lot of TradFi experience. He then translated that towards kind of TradFi experience in Latin America, helping desks set up in the region. Goes on to Bitso, first foray, relatively recently, 2021, 4 years ago, and sort of being able to step back into that role. I think it's a super important like role. I mean, everyone's always asking me, what's the alpha in Latin America? What's something? It's like everyone uses Binance, dude. Like that's the alpha, and it's not really even alpha, but everyone's trying to be like, oh, don't they care about decentralization? I'm like, no, literally no one cares. People just want to send money, they want to speculate, they want to save, and people use Binance. So, that's the alpha, folks. For those of you listening, they probably don't want to use your really complex, poorly built wallet. So whenever you can beat Binance 10x, then users will be interested.
Yeah,
Which, by
and
the
I
way,
think
the only app that comes close to doing that right now is Infinex. I think we've spoken about Infinex before, but I use Infinex on the daily, developed by Kin Warwick from Synthetics. Like, for those listening, if you haven't already used Infinex, I'm surprised by the number of people I speak to that haven't used Infinex yet. I'm a patron of Infinex. You literally sign with passkeys. It's an awesome product. And 10 out of 10, super recommended. Like the only crypto app I recommend to people these days is Infinex.
really, and what's your favorite thing about Infinex?
Like you can just do things with so much ease. Let's say like I have, JLP on Solana, right? If I wanted to take that JLP in today's world without Infinex and then transfer that over to, let's say, USDC on base, right? It's like, if I'm not using some sort of aggregator, which again, you're also like, is this aggregator even safe? Do I need to find the best one? Do I use Jumper? Do I use this one? Do I use that one? You need to go in, connect your wallet, then you've got to like sign some transactions, then you've got to wait like a few minutes, then you've got to wait on the other side, then you've got to sign transactions on the other end. And it just makes it like super seamless. You just like click, it's all, you log in with your passkey, you log in with like, your fingertip on your device with your face on your phone. The mobile experience is just as good as the desktop experience. And you can switch, so you can swap assets from one chain to the other very seamlessly, and it just keeps your assets in this these secured wallets that you can only send money in and out of your wallets to designated addresses. So it just makes like moving funds across chains very seamless. They're going to open up sort of DeFi integrations, which means you can do just similar to DeFi Saver. You can do like very complex DeFi integrations all in a click of a button. And that's exactly what crypto needs, right? And I think that's exactly kind of the target audience that Kane is going for, is the Binance user that wants to go on chain, but they have too much trouble doing that today. And I've always talked about a winning product is like Nubank meets Infinex for Latin America. Like there's a product to be built. We've got one of their teams at Acelera that's working on precisely this. And I really like, I think this is what's going to win.
Yeah, definitely. You bring together a lot of the ideas that we've been talking in Frontera. So Nubank is the most important crypto company, and they are not that invested into crypto yet. They've done a lot of things. They are
Yeah.
using stablecoins, but basically they have the distribution. So huge opportunity. They are also a public company, so their data is impressive.
Biggest
Every
fintech in the
quarter.
world. Yeah. Over 100
really?
million users.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I remember a couple. I don't know if this is still true, but 1 year ago they were bigger than Coinbase, Robinhood, and Plaid together. So, and
That's
that's
insane.
huge. And you go
Yeah.
to the US and they don't know Nubank. That's basically why I say that the developed markets do not understand stablecoins. How could you not know maybe the most important player for stablecoins, for retail stablecoins in the next 2 3 years? You know, it's really hard to wrap my head around that. But yeah, I think that Latin American people understand a lot better stablecoins than people in the developed markets. And man, let's move to the final news, and I'd love you to share. It was you went viral, and there's something important on this thing. So go ahead.
Speaking of stable coins in Latin America, all right. So basically, here's what happened. I was sent this image from and probably a lot of the audience has already seen this tweet, but I was sent this tweet from a couple of very high signal sources that are currently based out of Bolivia. We've spoken previously about the situation in Bolivia, where they have a USD shortage and where they've basically, crypto was illegal for about 10 years. They legalized it and they saw a 12,000% increase in the use of stable coins and dollars in particular, and sort of largely enabled by stable coins, right? So yesterday, I was sent an image from the Banco de la Unión, which is a big national bank there. And the image says, hey, we have access to all of your USD and you'll be able to redeem it for the commensurate amount to Bolivianos, right? Which is sort of the local currency in Bolivia. I shared that and I said, listen, Bolivian government just rugged all of the Bolivians and is now allowing them to redeem their dollars back to Bolivianos for which, if you look at P2P markets versus the official rate, which is what they're allowing people to exchange it for, they can do so for 50% less, right? So you're basically getting a 50% haircut on your dollars in your accounts. And we saw this happen already in Argentina in 2001 with a situation known as El Corralito, where the government said, if you deposit dollars into your bank accounts, you will be able to withdraw dollars. We then knew that wasn't true. People were restricted with how much money they could withdraw. They could only withdraw back to pesos. And that's where we started seeing this decoupling between like the official rate and the black market rate in Argentina, which is like completely decoupled, right? We're seeing the same right now happen in Bolivia. The correction that I'm more than happy to make, and in fact, I posted a follow-up tweet that said, I cannot yet verify. I can't say for certain that the image is fake, but the premise is that I'm not sure if this image that was shared with me and which I then subsequently shared is actually 100% legitimate and actually issued from the bank. What I said is the following, that the country is without a doubt going through an economic crisis whereby they have the demands for crude oil that they can't currently meet due to dollar shortages, because when you purchase oil on the open markets, you do so with dollars. They have a dollar crisis, right? The government issued this sort of decree 538, which basically says that the Yacimientos Petroleros Fiscales Bolivianos, the YPFB, is able to obtain dollars from the Banco de la Union's customers, okay? Or from the Banco de la Union's treasury, which includes private customers. So it fundamentally does mean that the YFPB can now go into bank accounts and withdraw as many dollars as they need, such that they can meet their sort of obligations to purchase sort of crude oil, right? So, while the image again is yet to be completely verified, what it does mean is that this oil company, this national oil company, can now go into these bank accounts and withdraw as many dollars and will pay people back in pesos. The problem is that they state that they are going to give you the official rate for the pesos, right? When you look at the P2P markets, which El Dorado and Binance and others, it's literally like 50% of the price than what it's trading on the free market, right? So, the premise of the tweet still stands true. It's just the image in and of itself that isn't actually legitimate, right? So that, an interesting lesson there around, I think, two different things, like always verify your news sources, even if it comes from like a legitimate trusted source. I certainly should have spent 30 seconds just like double checking. I have a really high degree of confidence in the people that send me this type of information, but you never know. So number one, you're journalists, right? So I'm curious to get your take on just like accuracy and this specific context and situation.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say I'm a journalist. Uh, yeah, not
You're a
at all.
journalist in my heart, but like you're in the media, and
Yeah,
accuracy and
definitely.
facts are important for you, right? So
Yeah.
give me your perspective and take on this.
So my perspective is that breaking news territory is always, uh, I don't know, it's not completely foundational, because we are discovering the news. When we are on basically we're on uncharted territory, we are charting stuff. So there are gonna be things that they're gonna be mistaken. Actually, looking at the thing that you wrote and reading the analysis, I think that the most important thing is that when when does a rug actually happens? When they are able to rug, or after they executed the rug, you know? Because basically what the news is saying is that they now have the capacity, they have the ability to do this. So I mean, if they change
Like the
something to
tweet
do
is
it,
accurate, right?
exactly,
Exactly. Like
exactly.
the tweet itself is accurate. The mistake was the image that accompanies the tweet, which was apparently like, from what I'm hearing now, maybe like pushed out by someone to just like instill fear or whatever, right? And so it's like technically true, just the image itself is not true, right? Like you did technically just rug everyone if you're like, oh, by the way, we can withdraw like all of the dollars in your bank account if we want to, right? And that's so messed up. And I think it just proves, I said this is why Latin America needs crypto. Then I have a lot of like Bitcoin maxi friends. So this then got into like the Bitcoin maxi circle, and the number of like replies I have, people being like, Bitcoin, not crypto. And I get it, right? It's like there's a reason that the North Korean hackers have swapped all of their ETH not for USDC, not for USDT, not for anything on Ethereum, but it's all in Bitcoin because it's the most decentralized and most distributed ledger, right? And hardest to seize asset. So, and I take that point and I recognize it fully. But I think there's just other capacities that crypto brings to the table. But yeah, give me your thoughts, insights, takes on all this.
Yeah. Well, my key insight is that the fact that this is possible for from any government is absolutely alarming, right? On the other side is that if you were a Bolivian, what's the best thing that you can do? I mean, could you go to USDC, and if then the Bolivian government says to circle any account coming from Bolivia, you need to seize it? What's the thing that you could do? So the thing of Bitcoin, not crypto, when you say X, not X, for me, it's like a super invalid argument because it's putting into a box a lot of ideas. But in this case, I think that if you are prioritizing decentralization and basically sovereignty, self-sovereignty, economic sovereignty, maybe Bitcoin might be the best way. But the reality is that if you go to Bolivia and you tell people, what do you rather have, Bitcoin or dollars, most of them are gonna say dollars. So I think that stablecoins might be the way. And if that's the way, then what's the solution? Should it be DAI? Should it be Go, Aave stablecoin? That those things are more decentralized, a little less dependent from a central entity. So I think that we are now going into the trenches and the rabbit hole of this situation. The main thing is that we are in Latin America problems. This is a huge opportunity for any entrepreneur, because in Latin America problems are clear and solutions are not yet clear. So we are in this territory where we can build the solutions, and a lot of these solutions will fail and some of them will be right. El Dorado is a great example. We're gonna have El Dorado team soon in Frontera. They built a P2P market, and I was talking with Guillermo, the founder of El Dorado, on East Denver, and I said, dude, why P2P? And the thing is, because that's the fastest way to have the most effective payment sources and payment rails, because basically you decentralize your rails, and that was brilliant. And if you told me 2 years ago P2P is the way, I would say I wasn't sure. I'm still not sure, but El Dorado is doing a great job discovering that uncharted territory. So yeah, that's my final take. The problems in Latin America are clear. The solutions are still not clear.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk because El Dorado said we have seen unprecedented rise in adoption for El Dorado in Bolivia. They move very quickly, they launch it very fast, and they've really just taken off because they do P2P markets. And so I'm excited to dive with them more on the situation. But yeah, I guess a public apology is due for not being sort of thorough enough in my fact checking. I wasn't expecting this tweet. I was like, oh, a few people find this interesting, and it's got like nearly 200,000 views. So I think I think it, for me as well, just a big lesson of always triple check your sources, despite where it comes from, right? But again, the premise is still accurate and right, and it just goes to show that at any point, any government can issue a law that says, by the way, all this money that you have sitting in your bank account, we cannot take that. Thank you very much. And so I think it just comes to, we don't have strong rule of law in the same way that US and Europe has, right? And even in cases where there is strong rule of law, I mean, we saw it happen in Greece, for example, as well, back in 2008. So it's just something to be sort of cognizant of. And it just doubles down my conviction in why we need permissionless, decentralized and self-sovereign money in the region. So let's go.
Yeah.
Super bullish, and great episode. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, man. Actually, I really enjoyed it. So, well, if you listen to the whole episode, remember to subscribe to the newsletter. There, we're gonna post the full analysis on Mexico. There are a bunch of things coming. We are keep pushing. Kush, thank you for your time. I appreciate you, bro. See you next time. You should at least have each episode. You should have an amazing background. There was just an eagle flying behind you. Next time, if you're in Buenos Aires, you should go to El Obelisco or something to record.
Super down, man. Yeah, I don't even know where I'm going to be in the next episode. So it'll be somewhere cool, I'm sure. Yeah, we'll get a nice background going. But anyways,
Amazing.
everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll be in touch.
Take
Peace.
care.
Ciao.
Bye bye.